the U.S., the Russians, the Turks, the Iranians, the Israelis over and with each other in Syria, the U.S., the U.K., Russia issues, cyber, even the potential for growing trade confrontation. I don't know which of these is going to break, but we're not going to get through a few years without some major problems.
Ian Bremmer's business is advising clients on political risk, and as he made clear when I spoke with him today, it is a growth industry. With so many tensions brewing in so many places, we wanted to get his take on where we need to pay attention and why. Bremmer had a lot to talk about, starting with North Korea and the stunning announcement last week from Donald Trump that he plans to meet directly with North Korea's supreme leader, Kim Jong-un.
Well, first of all, we don't know if there's going to be a summit. We know that Trump announced that he was ready to have a summit, and that was a week ago. And there has been radio silence from the North Koreans. They're usually pretty ready to talk about whatever they want when they feel like it. I don't think that they've decided that they're ready for this meeting. So let's see if it's going to happen or not. I think the fact that we've had so much uncertainty and change in the cabinet in the United States, Tillerson out, McMaster about to be, you don't have key South Korean envoys and senior advisors in place in the White House or the State Department. That's a big problem. And certainly President Trump deserves credit for pushing the Chinese towards tougher sanctions against North Korea. That wouldn't have happened under Obama or Bush. He also deserves credit for making North Koreans fear that a preemptive strike was on the table, and I think that helped to bring the North Koreans into a more conciliatory stance with South Korea over the Olympics and after, and potentially with the United States as well. So I do think that there is a larger chance than there has been that we could have a diplomatic breakthrough. But there's also a larger chance we could end up at war. There's a reason why Obama and Bush and Clinton have decided, and Bush Sr. all decided they didn't really want their presidency about North Korea, and they weren't going to put a lot at stake in trying to resolve it. And it's because they knew how hard it was, and they also knew the dangers were pretty great. So even though it was getting worse, they kicked it to the next president. And Trump didn't do that. He doesn't know a lot about foreign policy. He's more risk acceptant. I do think that saying that you're going to meet with Kim Jong-un and making your presidency, the success of your presidency, more about North Korea is potentially a very dangerous thing and makes it more likely that we end up in a direct military confrontation with the most militarized authoritarian regime in the world.
You know, we spoke earlier in the program about the changes in Trump's cabinet. What impact is that going to have on his foreign policy?
I think Pompeo is actually a pretty strong and solid citizen. He clearly will be a better manager of state than Tillerson was, and he will be more effective at pushing into the key meetings in the White House. He'll have more influence in the White House. He'll get more resources. But ideologically, he is much more hawkish than Tillerson was on Iran, on North Korea, on China, on Russia, on Israel, Palestine, on a host of issues. And I also think he'll be more of an enabler, more like Secretary of Treasury Mnuchin, whose view is whatever Trump's instinct is, that's right, we're going to go with that, as opposed to pushing back. Tillerson was more than willing to tell Trump on the many occasions that he thought Trump was simply wrong on foreign policy. And by the way, I think frequently Trump is wrong on foreign policy. He just doesn't have the background, and he isn't interested in developing the expertise. That's a problem. Now, if you have smart people around you that make decisions, so for example, on defense and security, you've got Secretary Mattis, and Trump has generally been willing to defer to Mattis for his advice on key issues like the bombing of Syria after their use of chemical weapons. And by the way, I thought that was one of the best foreign policy moves that Trump has made since he's become president. But it's not clear to me that he will do that on broader foreign policy issues. And I think that, combined with Pompeo in place and McMaster leaving, clearly elevates my concerns about geopolitical confrontation.